We are starting Unit 7 today, and we are jumping into 7.1, which is all about classifying polynomials and adding and subtracting polynomials. So, let's talk about classifying first. Now, when I say classifying, I mean, there's two things that we have to talk about with classifying. One is, how many terms do we have? And the second is the degree. Okay, so let's talk about number of terms. So if I have one term in my entire polynomial, an example of that would be like 3x, that is just one term. That is a monomial. Mono being the prefix for 1. If I have two terms in my polynomial, something like 2x plus 3, there are two different terms here separated by a plus sign. That is a binomial, bi being the prefix for 2. And three terms, that is a trinomial, tri being the prefix for 3. So if I had like 4x squared plus 2x minus 1, there are 1, 2, 3 different terms. Okay. Last thing, it's actually not written in here, but anything that has 4 or more terms, we are just going to label as a polynomial, poly meaning more. Okay, or not more, many. So that's number of terms: monomial, binomial, trinomial, or polynomial. Then we have degree. Degree being the highest exponent of each term. So we are basically looking for what is the highest exponent throughout the polynomial, and that tells us what the degree is. If it is a constant term, that is when we have a degree of 0, and basically that is just a number. Okay? Just a number. So situation would be like 4. It has no x, it has no exponent. So linear, we've dealt with linear before with y equals mx plus b. X has a exponent of 1 on it, so those have a degree of 1. Quadratic functions, we haven't dealt with quadratic yet. Those have a degree of 2, so it has the highest exponent of a 2 on it. Cubic has a degree of 3, so like an x to the third term. And quartic has a degree of 4, so like an x to the fourth. Now again, it doesn't have to be an x, could be a y, could be an a b, but the highest value in the exponent is a 4. All right, so let's take a look here. Now, when I ask you to classify, you have to use both. You have to use both the degree and the number of terms. And we always want to do degree first, then number of terms. So if we look at this first one here, we have a highest exponent of 3, that's where cubic comes from, and we have 2 terms, that's where binomial comes from. So with number 2, I have a highest exponent of 2, so that's quadratic. I have 2 terms, so it's a binomial. With number 3, I have no x, so I have no exponent, so it is a constant. And I have 1 term, so it is a monomial. Now, anytime that you have a constant, it will always be a monomial. We can't have a constant binomial or a constant trinomial. We look at number 4, 9x, that is an x to the first, so that is linear. 1 term, monomial. Number 5, highest exponent is 2. That's quadratic. 3 terms, trinomial. Number 6, highest exponent 2, quadratic, 2 terms, binomial. Number 7, highest exponent 4, that is quartic, 3 terms, trinomial. Number 8, highest exponent 2, quadratic, 2 terms, that is binomial. And last one here, highest exponent 4, quartic, 1 term, monomial. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and open up our books now. So in our books, I believe it's page 142. We're actually going to go to number 2 here. Now, these questions, it asks us to write in standard form. And so let's talk about standard form together. And I want you to write this down. With standard form, we're going to write from highest degree to lowest in alphabetical order. Okay? So we basically want to rewrite what we have written looking in a much better way. So we can see here in part A, we have 7 minus 3x to the third plus 6x squared. It just looks off because the 7 is coming first. Okay, so what we want to do when we say the highest degree is we want to look for the highest exponent first. That term has to come first. So the negative 3x to the third has to go first. And that negative has to come with it because it's attached to the 3. Then I go to the next highest exponent, which is 2. So I have the plus 6x squared. And I'm crossing off the terms as I go so that I don't repeat them. And then I have this positive 7, so I have a plus 7 at the end. This is standard form, going from the highest exponent to the next highest to the next highest. Now I know it doesn't say it, but we can classify this. This has an exponent of 3, so we know it's cubic. It has 3 terms, so we know it's a trinomial. If we do the same thing with B, look for the highest exponent of 2, so the negative 8y squared has to come first. Then we have a y and a 3, so we go with the y to the first term, so the plus 2y next. And then we're left with the negative 3 at the end. And again, we can classify this. This has an exponent of 2, so it is quadratic, 3 terms, trinomial. Okay, so that's just rewriting them in standard form. But what we can also do is we can also just combine like terms and write in standard form. So if we look at number 3, part A, we can see we have a bunch of terms here, but we have things that can combine. But again, let's start with our highest exponent. We have exponent of 2, so we have a 4x squared and a negative 1x squared. So we're just going to combine them together. Do 4 minus 1 leaves me with a 3x squared. Those are canceled out. And if we look at our x's, negative 3x plus 3x, when we add those together, they just cancel and we're done. So all of that just boils down and combines to a 3x squared, which we can now classify as a quadratic monomial. Let's do the same thing with B. Start with the highest exponent of 3. We have 2 of those. 7 and 5 give us 12y to the third. Then we go to the next highest of y to the first. Negative 3y and negative 2y combine to make negative 5y. and then we're left with a positive 7. And then we can classify that. Highest exponent of 3 is a cubic, 3 terms, trinomial. Okay, let's keep going here. All right, now we can see that there are sets of parentheses. We have a binomial plus a binomial, trinomial plus a binomial. So what we have to recognize here is what is happening in between the parentheses. Is it addition? Is it subtraction? Right? Because it's very important we know what we're doing. When it's addition, you are doing the exact same thing we were doing here. Just combine your like terms. You don't have to rewrite anything. So when we look at A in number 4, start with the highest exponent, which is a 2. I have no other exponents of 2. So that's my first term, 3x squared. Then we look at the next highest exponent, which is a 1. We have 2 of those. So 2 plus negative 1 becomes positive 1. And then we're left with a plus 9. We can classify that. Highest exponent 2, quadratic. 3 terms, trinomial. Same thing with B. Start with the highest exponent. We have a 2. We have nothing else with an exponent of 2, so negative 2x squared. We look for our x's, x to the first, x to the first. 5 plus 3 gives us plus 8x. Then we look at our constants, negative 7 plus 7, those cancel. Negative 2x squared plus 8x, exponent of 2 is a quadratic. 2 terms, binomial. All right, last one that we're going to do here. Let's look at number 5. Now with this one, we are subtracting. Here's my foolproof method to help you out with this, because most people can't look at it and say, okay, I know what I need to subtract, but I have negative signs, so I have to flip my signs. It can make people confused. But what we do know how to do is distribute a negative 1. We've done this tons and tons of times. And remember, we always distribute to the right. So if we think of that as a negative 1 that we distribute to the right, let's do that and then combine our like terms. The whole left side of this 3x squared plus 4x plus 2, we are not changing, we are not distributing, so we're just going to rewrite that. 3x squared plus 4x plus 2. That's going to just be rewritten. Now we distribute and write it next to it. So negative 1 times negative x is positive 1x. Negative 1 times positive 4 is negative 4. This now looks just like what we were doing up here. Same type of process of let's start with the highest exponent and combine. So we look for the highest exponent, which is here. So we have 3x squared. We then look at the next highest, which is our x to the first. So 4 plus 1 is 5. And then we look at our constant, 2 plus negative 4, which is negative 2. This would be a quadratic trinomial. All right, and then last one, let's do the same thing. Let's distribute the negative 1, rewrite the first one, negative 5x minus 6. Distribute negative 1 to 4x squared is negative 4x squared. Negative 1 to 6 is negative 6. Let's start with the highest exponent, which is 2, so we start with a negative 4x squared. Then we have our x term, negative 5x. Then we have our constants, negative 6 minus 6 becomes negative 12. Highest exponent of 2 is quadratic. 3 terms, trinomial. Okay? And that is classifying. That is also adding, subtracting, and combining like terms with polynomials. So if you have any questions, please let me know as we're working through these problems over the next day or so. We will then get into multiplying them the rest of this week. So hopefully this helps on your homework, and let me know if you have any trouble. Thanks.